So out here, beautiful scenery, just tons of frogs making lots of noise, really cool, and a perfect location for the Javelot. So turning the light on, long press in the low mode. So you can see on the far shoreline, even in the low mode, more than enough light to illuminate completely across the way. Now, it's a tight beam, extremely tight beam, so you're not going to get a wide viewing angle. However, even in the low mode, you can definitely see what's going on over there. Now, single press, that's going to be the medium mode. That's a perfect amount of light for right now. This would be a great light to try to see things like beaver, which are probably out here for sure. That is something that I often see, or at least here in this location. You can see just lighting things up over on the side. There's some trees. Still a very small and tight beam. Now at this point, another single press. That's going to be the high mode. The high mode is really starting to throw a serious cone of light. There is not a lot in the way of spill. You can see that extremely tight, defined hot spot. And even if I go to the far shoreline, I'm talking way far away. Those are probably 100-foot tall trees, and I am easily beaming right to the top of them. You can see that cone of light. This is a serious beam. One more press there. This now, the turbo mode, that beam is just insane. Look at the head of the flashlight and just that crazy, intense, tight beam. Lighting everything up with ease, really illuminating the far shoreline. This is a serious punch. Right up into the trees, no problem. I have more than enough here. That is insane.
And so now, getting into the unboxing of the Javelot Turbo 2. There are flashlights that I've had in the past that are just stellar performers, but I feel like this one is just going to be absolutely extreme. So right on the front here, congratulations and welcome to the Olight family. Enjoy the extreme beam distance of this new Olight. It's not just a flashlight, it's an Olight. And Olight always doing a fantastic job. Right away as we get into this excellent presentation, I mean, just killer in terms of the fact that this comes in this nice ruggedized case, Javelot Turbo 2. This is going to be an absolute throwing monster. Getting into this here, of course, we have flashlight, case, all of the different accessories that we would need, but you can see coming in a nice padded case. And the interesting thing is this is kind of like a Pelican style, and right on the front, it's got your little air release valve. So if you were traveling and going up and down in elevation, that helps to kind of equalize pressure inside the case. Interesting little attention to detail, but Olight has covered it. And so some people are going to say they don't necessarily like a flashlight in a larger form factor like this. If you've been watching my channel, you realize that I actually really do like a larger form factor. Fits well in the hand, balances nicely, kind of gives you that, nice oversized head to grip onto, and right away you're going to see just a behemoth head on the front of this. Of course, we are going to remove that film, and when we do, just look at the size of the cone on the inside, that reflector, so perfectly smooth, a beaming monster. And I love the look of the bezel. The blue on the front has that little bit of, I don't know if you call that crenulation, but just, real interesting look. Very nicely done. Absolutely everything screaming Olight.
Again, a second angle. This is going to be a little bit faint, but in the low mode, far off, far shoreline, I'd say about 300 feet away, trying to illuminate the base of the shoreline. In the low mode, it's going to be hard to see, but now a single press, that's the medium mode. So the medium mode, again, starting to light everything up, giving me a good mirror image right off the water. Perfect, crystal clear mirror image there. Another press, that's the high mode. and you can see easily lighting everything up. Very clear, very distinct. That hot spot doing a fantastic job, and another press there to the turbo, that serious cone of light. Little tiny bit of spill to the sides, but it's really about that central hot spot. The full 500 plus thousand candela really doing its job.
Now your user's manual, the case, and then on the inside here, a couple of little accessories which we will play with, and this is pretty cool because this has a remote control, and you can see right on the inside of the case here, that remote right here, built into the case, and that can be removed. The case is very nice, nicely shaped, will easily accept the flashlight, and that has a magnetized flap right on the front. Very simple, effective design. Goes on the belt, has a D-ring. That's cool. Now unthreading the tail cap here. Of course, this has your protective film and a massive battery right here. ORBP 2S 5000, 7.2 volt, 5,000 milliamp hours, translating to 36 watt hours of power. Just a large, oversized battery, pretty much in essence, like a, I would call it like a double 21700. And so the actual flashlight itself is quite light. This does not have a ton of weight to it. Beautiful aluminum, nicely crafted, but it's the battery that has the majority of the weight here. So you can see the arrow setting this in. Then again, the tail cap, threading this into place, and now firing that right up. You can see here the battery indicator, long pressing here that will put the light on and allow you to cycle between the modes. Again, long press turning it off. So long press, on and off. And it is also activated leveraging that tail switch. Operation, again, very simple. A long press here. That will be the low mode. So low mode, 15 lumens, 272 hours of runtime. Single press, medium. Medium mode, 150 lumens, 30 hours of runtime. Another press, high mode, 600 lumens, 360 minutes of runtime. And then this will dim down to around 25%. Another single press here, the turbo mode, and you can see it actually looks like it may have had a bit of a proximity. So low, medium, high, low, medium, high. Seems with the battery at this point I will need to charge it before it will go into that turbo mode, which that will be very easy here, leveraging the USB Type-C charging port. Get that on the charger, then we'll come back and keep going. Which now, at this point, as you can see, fully charged. Here we have low, medium, high, and turbo. So now, turbo kicking in. That's 1,800 lumens. Now, granted, this is only 1,800 lumens, but this is 576,715 candela, capable of beaming over 1,500 meters. That's a serious throw. Now, something else worth mentioning, which is extremely unique, the fact that you can leverage this remote control, which is so cool. And it actually connects directly to the back of the flashlight, piggyback ride. At this point, you can see no operation. Taking it off, here you go. So it is going to give you at least some level of control from distance. I can't say for sure how far, but we'll test it at least a little bit. And then on top of that, the ability to slip this inside a wristband if you so choose. I probably won't do that for right now, but this is definitely a unique feature and very, very cool. And just finally, in terms of the operation, on the tail switch, half press to low, deep press to turbo. Extremely effective. I like that quite a bit. That's going to be very easy. Simple half press. Hey, what's that over there? Boom! Just full blast of light. So nice user interface. Awesome beam power. But how is it in the field? There's only one way to figure that out. Let's get out there.
Now, although it's not the best for general navigation, in the low mode, definitely suitable. You can see here, again, a very tight hotspot. However, there is at least enough spill to the sides to allow me to see and generally illuminate in this very dark pathway. Now, there's not much in the way of additional light, so having this here definitely doing its job and doing its job nicely. I'm going to go to a long path here where you'll really be able to see some of the overall power and punch of the Javelot Turbo 2. Now again, as I long press, turning the light on in the low mode, not going to see a lot. To the sides, just enough light to do what I need to do here, be able to navigate around in front of me, off into the distance. But it's when you start utilizing that medium mode, things really start to light up. Now this does beam all the way down to the end of the pathway, no problem, but you're not going to be able to see the full depth of the beam. You can see it does illuminate into the foreground with that little bit of spill, enough to see, but you can see that it does definitely fall off quickly and into that refined and tight cone. Another press here, that is the high mode. Starting to really see that laser beam of light way off into the distance, and then that turbo mode, that full beam doing its job all the way off into the distance. And just finally pointing out the fact that with the tail switch, little half press, and you are in that low mode, which again, you can have a hard time seeing, but if you need that full punch, just press deep. Boom. There you go. Light everything up. Back off a bit. Back onto that little half press. This Javelot Turbo 2 is absolutely magnificent. I love this light.
And so, all right, guys, there you have it. A look at the Javelot Turbo 2. Simply stated, I love this flashlight. It is literally awesome. I do believe that everybody should have an EDC style flashlight and some level of a beam blaster. And that's exactly what this is. Just a pure beam blaster. This thing absolutely projecting light, nice tight cone, awesome quality, way off in the distance. And the only thing that I will say is you do have the remote, which is definitely cool. And I like that about this. But what I would like to see is right on the bottom, maybe just some threads so you could put this on a tripod. I think that would add flexibility and versatility. Now, keep in mind the fact that the remote can be used as a pressure switch with a firearm. There's a number of different ways you could go about it. There are actually kits that you can purchase for the Javelot that it really allows you to mount this on a long gun. I personally probably would not do that. I don't really have a reason for it, but I would use the remote in a number of different ways to enhance my ability to leverage the flashlight. But that would really require me to put this on a tripod. So I think the only other thing that would really top this off would be introducing threads into the bottom. You have the charging port for the actual remote itself. That goes right on the side, very simple. That charges the remote. Then on the top, you have the battery. Then on the side, you have the charging port for the USB Type-C connection. And there's that blank spot right on the underside. That would literally be perfect for those threads. But I'm sure there's ways you could clamp this if you needed to. The other thing worth mentioning, you do have the magnetic switch, which allows you to charge this via the typical Olight magnetized tail switch. But all in all, so impressive. Thank you so much to the people at Olight who did provide this for review. Look in the description box below where you can find all of the relevant links. And if you like this content, do me a favor. Take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. At this point, that channel is growing quickly. I have a ton of videos up there. So if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. Hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.